Welcome to the Bill and Gypsy Show.
Where we help you turn your wedding dreams of sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows
into amazing experiences as we make you the hero of your own story. As we are your trusted guides, not only Gypsy and I, but our special guests that appear each week on our show.
Well, Mr. Bill Hansen has catered over 10,000 weddings, y'all, starting back in the 1960s. And while he's 74 years young, about to turn 75, he is not retired, he is refired. His South Florida weddings throughout Biscaya, Museum and Gardens, Villa Woodbine, the Deering Estates, you name it, over 500 different venues throughout the area are sought after by those folks that have very distinctive tastes.
That's wonderful. Hey, Gypsy, you forgot to mention one thing. 4 of those weddings were my own.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But I finally figured it out. I've been happily married now for it'll be 37 years. So let me tell you a little bit about Gypsy. Gypsy is a dream come true. Gypsy is an angel who landed down here in Miami. We met basically through a prayer group, and she is one of the most wonderful people I know. She really is. She's been a blessing, and she knows more about weddings because she's lived weddings her whole life. And yes, like me, she's married, very happily married. And so Gypsy is a great advisor to you couples out there who are, first of all, excited that you're engaged, but then so many times that excitement can turn very quickly into worry, frustration, confusion, and even budget issues. So we're here on our show every week to help you through that process.
And one of the process is choosing your vendors. And one of the most important vendors to choose, of course, is photography, because photography is the art of capturing all those special moments of your wedding. On today's show, Rachel E. Liggins from Rachel E. Liggins Photography will share with us why hiring a professional photographer is a must for your wedding. It is truly my pleasure to introduce Miss Rachel. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Bill and Gypsy. I appreciate it.
Well, Rachel,
from Key West today.
Yeah, I wish we were down there in Key West, but it's probably best we're up here, particularly for me. I would get in way too much trouble down there. So I'll stay up here in my home in Weston. So, Rachel, you started out, I think you're from Kentucky, from what Gypsy told me.
Yeah.
And so what brought you down from Kentucky to Key West?
Well,
and how did you get started down there?
So I came to Key West sophomore year in college, and I ended up meeting Tony Gregory, who's a great photographer down here. He's been a wonderful mentor. And after I went back to finish up school after my little bout in Key West in 2001, I came back down, took a job for 1 year, and that was 16 years ago. I never left. So that's how it all evolved. But
Wonderful.
I have Tony Gregory to kind of thank for the invite to come down and work with him for a year.
Oh my God. And you are amazing. And those folks that don't know, she not only does weddings down here, down in Key West and South Florida, but also Kentucky and other parts of the country, all over the country. So, but in the world of photography, the format has changed. I remember when I started in this industry, everything was film. And I remember when there was the buzz of like, oh, digital, and digital is never going to do anything. It's just going to go away in 5 seconds, which it has. But then in the last maybe 5 years or so, because everything was like film, from film we went to digital. And then the last 5 years, I've seen a little bit of a combination.
Yeah.
Using digital and film. So what do you see brides? I mean, is that what you're dealing with right now with brides? It's kind of a combination of both, majority though, digital or film. What do you see?
Okay, so I think it's more of like a style that people kind of want to go to. It's more of that kind of artsy, grainy. I developed all of my own film and stuff when I first started in Key West. So I was originally started off as a film photographer and went to the digital process. But I think a lot of photographers now are mixing the two to kind of get that really nice artistic touch to their imagery. So they're basically taking the negatives and getting them scanned in and then emulating what they've also shot in digital. So it's more of a combination rather than just like a full on day of film or a full on day of digital. And it's great. Me personally,
So,
I actually have been playing around with it again too. So it was kind of nice to get the film camera back out.
so that was actually supposed to be my question to ask you about styles. So I'm going to come up with something else. Um, what do you see in the future? Do you see anything that is trending beyond what people are planning now? Like in our business, there's always new cuisines that pop up. There's always new styles of catering that pop up. They're, rustic, and then it's maybe modern. What do you see in the photography world? Is there anything that you can kind of maybe share with our viewers?
Yeah, I think with the photography world, you're going to see a lot more of photographers becoming very artistic. You know, some of these photos, especially say from my grandparents, maybe your first or second wedding, anybody that was there knew that those were kind of staged photographs. You had your 8 by
Mhm.
10 and that was it. Today, photographers are really kind of not necessarily competing against each other, but really going the extra mile for that shot where it's just that wow factor. So I think moving forward, you're going to see even more creativity with artists and
Mhm.
photographs at weddings becoming more pieces of art rather than
Mhm.
just stand there, take a photo, and smile with your
Mhm.
parents. So, an artist
You're-
approach, I think.
and it's all art. And
Yeah.
one way of preserving art, I remember when it was always the album, the wedding album. But now that we see a lot of brides are just asking for the flash drive.
Ooh, yeah.
And that kind of went pretty popular the last few years. But I have been seeing now, because y'all's albums, tell us a little bit about albums and why it's important to have the albums besides just the flash drive.
Right. So I'm actually a member of a little group called Printographers, and that's print
Mhm.
photographers. So it's basically a photographer that is trying to get things printed. Back in the day, we used to go over to our grandparents or mother's house when you were introduced to somebody, and they'd show you the family albums, they'd show you the wedding album. Well, now we're finding that most people don't have any albums or any photos to show. It's like you spend all this money, you do all this planning, especially here for a destination wedding, and we're finding that people don't really have anything tangible to show. So our biggest thing is to kind of get these albums in clients' hands and to understand like how important it is to have these heirlooms in your family and to get this and have a finished product from what you're
Mhm.
paying thousands and thousands of dollars from this wedding and just having that flash drive. So
Mhm.
I think it's
Yeah.
very important to have a tangible item to hold in your hand. Yeah.
Well, my wife and I, since we've been involved in the COVID, we pretty much spent most of our time at home. So we use this time to go through all of our old photos. We probably have 40,000 photos. So what I did was I bought a high quality scanner.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not going to scan every photo, but I'm going to scan the ones and put them all into at least we have them in the computer so that my son and daughter-in-law and the other people will at least have a few pictures to share. So that's been quite a project. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So the next question is one that always has to come up. Some people describe it as the elephant in the room. We can talk about artsy fartsy and we can talk about this and talk about that. And I can do this and I can do that. But then it comes down to the almighty dollar. So, how do you deal with that? How do you help couples decide what's a good budget for them to spend on their photography and videography?
Right. As you guys know, with venues, with flowers, with cake, there's usually always a big range. So you're talking a range from experience, you're talking a range from location. You know, sometimes you can find a really good photographer in one state for all day for, you know, $2,000, and you go to another destination and you've got the same coverage and that photographer may be $8,000. But I think a
Hmm.
safe range is anywhere from $3,000 to $6,000 for
Hmm.
a full day's worth of photographer and or a good album credit to get you started, or an album in your hand.
Hmm.
Anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 is what we're
Okay.
seeing these
Well,
days.
that's a good answer. Now, I'm going to do a follow-up question. Do you have other people that assist you when you do shoot your weddings?
Oh yes, it just makes my life easier. We use things like ice lights and really fun tools for our creative shots, so I always need you know, an extra set of hands for that, for sure. Always two with me.
And ice lights, I remember we played with that. Remember, I
Get
was
it on now.
that was fun. um,
Yep.
when a bride and groom, when a couple actually meets with a photographer,
Hmm.
what do you feel is actually the most important question that they should ask every photographer?
Great question. For me, I think it's very important to ask your photographer how much involvement you have prior to the wedding. How much are you going to work with me before the wedding day? Because the biggest thing that I see is not a connection with the photographer and the bride and groom, and people have so many questions on the wedding day. If your photographer is on board, they kind of know exactly when to recommend when you to get your hair done, when to be ready, when is going to be the first look. Your photographer should really be hands-on almost immediately after being hired. So I think it's important to ask your photographer what is their role during the process of planning, booking, and to the wedding day.
So the other part of that is that many couples have a planner. So how do you interface with the planner without stepping on the planner's toes?
So for us, especially here in Key West, it is such a really small, tight knit place. So we always work together, and you're kind of used to working with your vendors. A big thing here for us is sunset. So we all kind of say, okay, what time's the ceremony? We all work together. Basically, I take the forefront and say, this is what we're going to do up into the ceremony. And then they kind of take it after the ceremony and say, okay, this is where we take it from here. Bring them back
Hmm.
after sunset, and then they go on to plan the first dance, the speeches, the toast, and I just kind of take a step back and capture things as they unfold, which most people like those photos anyway. Yeah.
So there's another topic that we probably
Yes.
should bring up too, and that's the topic of drama. Yeah, hardly a wedding goes by without some dramatic thing that happens. And it can be something very minor, or I've seen people walk out of a wedding and go home because they weren't seated at the right table.
Oh my.
So how do you deal with drama when it unfolds? Because undoubtedly you've seen it before.
Oh yeah. So for us, I think that any drama that we have to per se deal with as photographers kind of starts at the beginning. You know, you've had that bridesmaid or groomsman that may have had too many drinks at the pool here in Key West, and you know, kind of want to step in, tell people what to do. That's kind of about the drama that we get here. But mostly, most people have planners, so the photographer just gets to kind of, you know, step to the back, let the staff kind of take care of that, not really get
So,
in between it.
so you're like the quarterback on a football team. You hand
Yeah.
it off to the halfback, right?
Yeah. So we herd cats. If you know, if we need to get that shot, we kind of just tell that bridesmaid or that groomsman, hey, we'll get that shot after we're done with these, and you know, kind of make the request to be known. But most generally, we don't have a lot of drama.
Good.
Yeah.
That's good. We had a wedding where the bride's father told the bride's mother on the day of the wedding that he was having an affair and was going to divorce her.
Oh.
So it was the whole thing of making sure the photographer, videographer, all of it, make sure nobody takes any shots really of the dad.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of, it was so tense, but we got through it. She was beautiful.
Yeah. You just roll with the punches after
Yeah.
however many years, 90, yeah.
Just
Yeah.
never know.
16 years of shooting. We've seen quite a bit, but we just roll
Yeah,
with it and we do what we're supposed to do. We keep shooting. So
because
So,
we're professionals, that we're all
yeah.
professionals. And it's with everything that's happening now with that the P word pandemic and all,
Yeah.
what is your main advice to your couples when choosing a photographer at this point?
Ooh, I love this question too. So my biggest thing is get to know your photographer. If you cannot meet them on in person, which a lot of our brides don't get to meet us until the day before the wedding, have a Zoom call. Have a FaceTime if you have an iPhone. And if you don't want to do a video chat in any way, shape, or form, give that photographer a call before you hire them. Oftentimes, I've had people that hire other photographers and they find that their communication isn't what they wanted. Get to know that photographer, whether it's by the phone, hear their voice, let them know kind of what kind of personality they have and if they mesh with you, because your photographer's with you more than your planner, more than your caterer, more than any other vendor. Your photographer is in your face. You want to make sure that you have a good rapport. You want to make sure that this person, is not going to dominate your day with like their conversation and stuff. You definitely want to know that this is the right person to spend 6 to 8 hours with you on one of the biggest days of your life.
so Rachel, I guess I'm probably not going to get married again. I'm almost 75 and I'm happily married, but I will tell you this. If I was, I would definitely come down to Key West and you would be my photographer for
Well,
sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I also do a lot of vow renewals, so just keep that in mind.
That's good. Maybe for my 40th. Yeah, that
Yeah,
would be,
it's a
yeah,
lot of fun.
we could do it right on the fire hydrant there,
Oh,
in front of the southernmost hotel where I proposed to my wife. So
oh, I love it.
I look forward to meeting you in person, and I want to thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your time with us and with our viewers. You're certainly a spectacular person, and I can tell you have a good heart about you, which is so important. So I'm urging all my viewers, if you decide to get married in Key West or anywhere, give Rachel a buzz. I'm sure, have camera will travel. Okay. So,
Yes.
and so everyone, please remember to tune in next week for the next Bill and Gypsy show that'll be coming up, where we'll interview another wonderful wedding person who knows weddings inside and out, someone like Rachel. So I believe all your info is going to be up on the screen so people can reach out to you if they have any more questions. And I also would like to remind our viewers that, hey, listen, if you have a comment, a question, or a concern, please go on and click and send it to Gypsy and me. We're really happy to help. Our life is about helping other people at this point. So thank you for everybody for watching, and take care, and may God bless each and every one of you.